about something really cute called an aha jar. In fact, I showed it to them, but I don't have it with me at this moment. But one of the things with an aha jar, hi Kaylin, um, is you get just like a regular, like a mason jar, and like when something really cool happens, I keep like a little notepad next to it, and you start writing it down. Oh, okay, cool, I got you, Kaylin. Um, and you write it down and put it in the jar. So what it does, it's like a gratitude jar, but you like keep record of like things that were like little mini miracles. You're like, oh my God, I can't even believe that happened. But what happens is that these amazing things happen and we forget and then we get stuck in a rut. But when you have an aha jar and you put all these little notes in, like, oh my God, I ran into somebody today who, is totally interested in Amare and they were so excited and it was a fluke. Or, I ran into somebody today, like, I don't know if you have kids, but their,
Hmm.
teenage daughter is looking for babysitting and I need a babysitter. Like, whatever, just like, oh, amazing coincidences, like things that you're grateful for. We write little
Yeah.
notes, we stick it in the jar, and then, like, if you're ever down or whatever, maybe at the end of each week, you just grab one in your little aha jar, and you're like, oh my God, you remember like all these amazing little miracles because so many amazing things are here for us. But a lot of times we get excited when it happens, and then we forget, and it passes by, and then we get stuck in a rut, and we forget that there's magic available. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, for sure. I love that. I've honestly actually started that on many different occasions, and I've never like followed through with it for longer than a couple of weeks. But I definitely, that's so funny that you bring that up because I was just thinking about that a few days ago that I want to get back into doing that and actually stick with it for no other reason than I just thought it would be fun. Like a New Year's tradition, you go back through and just see all the great things that happened over the year and stuff like that. So
And
yeah, no, I really like that.
it's really fun because sometimes like things just pass us by, but if we keep it like, right when you walk in the door or something and like a little notepad, and then you start to see like the universe is always supporting us, always supporting us, always supporting us. But we don't talk about it. So unless we're with people that have that conversation all the time, we don't realize that the universe is always supporting us. But whatever you focus on grows. So if you focus on all these amazing ways that the universe is supporting you, then you start to, it's like you get in the groove, you get in the flow, and then more things happen that support you and more things happen that
Yeah.
support you because that's where your focus is. See what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I like it.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. Hi, Helen. Hi, Jess. I don't know if you guys started your aha jars, but we were saying how like it's just such a great way to remember that we're literally always being supported. So I think we'll get started. But you want to go around and ask if you have any wins that you'd like to share. Helen, do you have any wins you want to share?
Well, I think a win for me is in the midst of everything kind of going downhill on the sale of my house, that I did not stay down there, that I picked myself up and I kept saying advantage, advantage, um, that something better is coming. And, and I was hesitant to call the lady because I was going to lose my house, the one that I'm buying,
Oh, right.
because I can't have that if I don't sell this.
Yes,
And
yes.
so when I made my real estate agent call her, and when my real estate agent called her, she said, "Oh no, we can keep her under contract. The contract's still good until 45 days from now.
Oh,
And if
fantastic.
anything else happens, we can extend it a little bit longer." So I was pleasantly surprised. That was a huge win for me that I can still keep the house even though I don't have this one under contract right now. But somebody's coming. It's going to be
Totally.
somebody better.
Totally.
Somebody
Yes,
better.
girl. Somebody is coming. They're here. They're here. They're here. They're here. It's on its way. It's on its way. The universe has your back. That keeps coming up for me today. It's like, oh, the universe has my back. The universe has my back. The universe has your back. So you
Yeah.
just keep, you know what I mean? You just ad nauseum. The universe has my back. The universe has my back. The universe has my back. It's already here. when you have a deep trust, the universe must comply because remember, the world is our mirror, always, 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 not just some of the time, all of the time. So your one and only job is to just keep knowing that everything's always working out for you.
And today, I actually had a showing on the house today, but the people didn't show up. And I was normally, Helen would have gotten very pissed off and been very rude and ugly but this Helen just went advantage. Something's better. And hopefully they'll be here tomorrow. But they had a new grandbaby. I get it. You wanted to go to the hospital to see. I just wish you would have told me and I wouldn't have taken time off at work.
Yeah.
But again, I got to spend the afternoon with my husband and I got to do some business on my computer. So advantage.
Advantage. That's right. I love it. Thank you, Helen. Thank you, Helen. Awesome. Okay, so I'm just kind of going around the room and all I see is iPhone. So you know who you are. It looks like you're driving and I hope that you weren't just texting. Do you want to share some wins?
My gosh, yes. Holy cow. Okay.
Is that summer? It
So
is.
many amazing things have happened, you guys. So I ended up manifesting what I've been working on the last 6.5 years is replacing my alimony. And I had all this fear and resistance. And the past few months, I don't know how, because my alimony, the last payment is next month, but I released fear and I just trusted and I just knew, like, God, the universe, my angels have my back. They know
Yes.
exactly what I need.
Yeah.
And because if you're in fear, you don't have faith. You don't believe that miracles are coming in. You don't believe that God has you, that everything is happening for you. So all of those years I was pushing it away, but as soon as I was able to release the fear, which I was able to release fear because I looked back at everything that I've manifested and everything that I've accomplished, and I realized, holy cow, God really does have me. Like, I can do anything, and He's helped me accomplish and manifest and achieve all these things. So, of course, I can continue to do that. So, it just helped me to believe in myself and believe in my angels and the universe. And so, anyways, I released the fear, and then I saw this reel that talked about what to do in the morning to bring in miracles. So you wake up, you do not check your phone, you go brush your teeth with your non-dominant hand to help build new neural pathways. You look in the mirror, you say, I love you 3 times, and you really feel it. And then you say, I cannot wait to see what incredible, amazing, miraculous miracles that God and my angels have in store for me today. And you feel it, and you really believe that miracles are my birthright. You guys, the fact that we are born is a miracle in and of itself. So miracles are our birthright. And if you believe that, then the universe can send miracles in. But if you don't believe it, we're blocking our miracles. Okay? So, you guys, I did this last Tuesday. That day, like a few hours later, my alimony was replaced. Like, even more than I ever could have thought. Like, and then every single day, I've been doing it for 7 days now. Miracles have come in every single day for the past 7 days. So I really encourage you to start your morning off like that. And as I've been falling asleep, another thing to manifest my alimony was I would say thank you for showing me that the solution to this issue is already solved. And then I would imagine and feel how good it would feel knowing that my alimony was replaced. Or I would think about my new business partner, right? And feel like, how good would it feel if I already had my next business partner? And I would feel relief, I would feel excitement and gratitude and joy, and I would fall asleep in that emotion. And when you're sleeping, you have no resistance. So your subconscious is going to go in and it's going to find solutions to what you're falling asleep to. So if you're falling asleep to your fears and focusing on the problems, your subconscious is going to be pulling more of that into your life. So I've been really mindful of what I'm falling asleep thinking and feeling. And then I wake up doing the miracle thing, and it's like changed my life, you guys.
I have to say, she's left me 52 messages about this.
Oh my God, that's beautiful. Summer, you have to like DM me when this happens. Because we need to put it in the group. Seriously, please DM me. I'm going to do a little Facebook Live tomorrow about it because honestly, this collective energy is magic. When we're all on the same page, we're all looking in the same direction. We've all have the understanding that the world is our mirror and we tell the world what it is that we want and the world delivers back. The only thing that blocks us again, just like you said, is a story that we have in our heads. When we release that and understand our ability to release it, everything changes. So that is brilliant. Thank you, Summer. That is magnificent.
Thank
I just
you.
did
That
this.
is magnificent, magnificent, magnificent. Thank you. Beautiful. Mwah. Congratulations. And we support you. We support you. We support you. Yay. So beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Courtney, girl, do you have anything to share?
Yes.
Hi.
Do you have any wins to share?
To be honest, I've been in a depression funk the past couple of days. I have a real hard time seeing other pregnancy announcements. It's something that I've dealt with for about since 2018. But I will find the way and continue to give my prayers and everything to God, knowing that she has a plan. And so it's something, and it's gloomy weather, so it doesn't help. It's raining the past couple of days. But positive thing is I'm another day sober within my sobriety journey. I'm breathing, I'm alive, I'm healthy. I've got my dogs, I've got an amazing husband with all of that. So I'm not really positive right now, but we're gonna keep moving forward with it.
Girl, you showed
May I
up.
say
You
something?
showed up.
May I say
Congratulations.
something?
Yes.
Court, I love you. I was there. I was in the same boat as you are, sweetheart, 20 years ago, 21 years ago. Don't rule out adoption. There are so many children out there that need a loving home. My husband and I adopted our two wonderful children, and they have been the most biggest blessing in my entire life. So just because you can't have a child, I couldn't, and God bless me. And I know now that He sent those two children to me because one looks like me and the other looks like my husband.
Oh my
They're
God.
nowhere related to us, but God has a plan, love, and don't rule that out.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you, Helen. And thank you, Courtney. And I'm so proud of you for being here. And we're going to have an amazing call. So thank you for sharing. And we're all breathing in your love and deliciousness and sending it to you. Everything's in divine timing.
A lot going on, so it's a win, I guess. It was nice to get away this weekend with my husband and my kids and just have a weekend away and be able to not focus on everything that's going on right now. It's a little bit chaotic, but so that's a win because I like to look at whatever as a win. It was nice to get away. And it's so hard because, like, when we were going away, the weather was not what I had hoped for this weekend. It was actually really cold. So it wasn't like, beach weather or whatever. But we still had a really, really nice time. And it was just nice to get away with my kids and my husband and not think about everything else that's going on. So that's my win.
Well, thank you. That's beautiful. That's a win. Seeing above the maze is a win because it's very easy to get sucked in, and it's okay when we do. We just don't want to live there, right? So there you go.
I've been so that's helping me a lot as far as anxiety goes. I've been dealing and struggling with that a lot lately. And to be honest, I think because I am on a path of getting closer to God right now, and I am learning there's a lot more darkness than I thought, I guess you could say. But also not trying to focus on that, just focus more on light and darkness. So I guess I could say it's a growth and a journey, so that's a win. Sorry, there's kids and there's dogs and stuff around me. But yeah, so those I would say are wins. To me, it's just the growth is a huge win, in my opinion.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. We appreciate it so much. This is a safe space, and this is it's all about winning, but not in a creepy way. It's about winning in a beautiful way. It's about being more of who we are. It's about seeing the light. It's about knowing that, it's not always going to be a bright, sunny day, but that light is always there. So I'm just going to go back for a moment and talk about that light.
What's your win, by the way?
Mine?
Yeah.
Aww. Hello, Peanut. Gosh, I feel like Lee, I honestly feel like we've had so many amazing, amazing wins. I guess I'll share one that is sticking out in my mind. I don't know if you guys know, but we have a program for teens, and we've had it we created it actually we created it before COVID, but we ended up actually recording the modules because we turned it into a program that's successful online. And we've had been back and forth with schools and all kinds of things. And there was a school that's it's an international, so they have campuses all over the world. And we had a meeting with them last week. We met with the teachers, and they loved the program. And for me, that was such a win because we've had hundreds of kids through the program, but the idea is we see this as a global program. And that was a win that came again out of nowhere. We didn't look for it. We didn't contact them. It was just through a friend said, you should talk to this person, and, just the door opened, and so that was a huge, beautiful win, because as much as we know that the program is beautiful and amazing, the door opening to just be able to show kids their magnificence, which has a very big, bright, delicious spot in our hearts. So I would say that's my win.
If you've heard of Abraham, you heard of Abraham? So there's levels of emotion anyway. So, the lower levels are guilt, shame, that sort of thing. And then the higher levels obviously go up to love and joy, passion. But the beauty of that is we can always go to just one level. A lot of the times we think, oh, we got to be like super ecstatic, and that's not always the case. That's way too much of a jump. So I lifted that one level. And that one level was, I read a book that I've read many times, and it's The Science of Being Well. So if you know The Science of Being Great, which is like Bob Proctor, it's actually how The Secret was started. That's what inspired Rhonda Byrne. Well, The Science of Being Well is about health and wellness and things like that. And I read it again. I read this book probably 3-4 times. And lo and behold, I read it again and I heard something so simplistic that it was a win. And that was just to eat what you want and eat it when you're hungry and simply stop when you're full. Now that sounds so ridiculous, so simple, but it was so freeing for me because I wasn't sure what I was eating and all this stuff. So it sounds like a very weird win, but to me that was a big win.
I got you. Well, because I know you, I know that's a big win. But one thing, and it's so interesting, just tying back to even what we teach when we're working with kids, is that light doesn't go anywhere. So, we are at the core, we are a diamond. We're all perfectly perfect, absolutely perfect. And just like when there's clouds in the sky, we never think, I wonder if the sun's still there. Like, we know the sun is still there. That's the same thing with our essence. So even when we feel the darkness, even when we're feeling a low mood, even when we're feeling, less than, and we have those moments, what is occurring in those moments is we are tapping into the collective ego. That's it. Because we are made of love. And if we are feeling anything other than love, we're not feeling our essence in that moment. We're tapped into something outside of us. We're tapped into the structure, the learned behavior, the conditioning. It's not who we are. And the more we look in the direction of our natural essence, which is the diamond, which is our wholeness, and we recognize that here's how we work as human beings. We are absolutely perfectly perfect beings. And then we just get affected by the world, okay? We call it our poop, our crap, our shit, whatever you want to call it. That gets on top of the diamond, and our stories get so deep, and we buy into them, and they get louder and louder and louder, and we keep talking about them, and they get bigger and bigger. But that diamond is still there. And once we actually recognize that all we're experiencing is thought in the moment, and I'm not saying that it doesn't exist, but what I am saying is that that's what it is. It's not the world. We never experience the world. We experience our thinking about the world. We experience the world through our films, many, 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 many different films that we're sort of seeing the world through. That's why we can all go to a movie together and we would all have a very different reaction to the movie, because we're not actually seeing the darn movie. We're actually seeing the movie through all of our filters that we've collected all over the years. So even when we're feeling that darkness, we have the ability to wake ourselves up to the present moment, to wake ourselves up to love. Okay, that is the diamond. It does not go anywhere. And once you actually see that that's what it is, that if we're feeling anything other than love, we're not tapping into our natural essence, it gets so much easier to spend more time in that state of love. So I want to backtrack and go back to the traffic light that we talked about last week, because Lee is going to share with us truly life-changing communication skills and a life-changing understanding about how we can show up in the world. But last week we talked about the 3 different sort of levels of where we are, okay, and where we're landing. So we use, do I have my little traffic light here? No, I don't. I must have taken it out. So we use a traffic light as a metaphor because it's easy to remember. You know, when you are driving and there's a red light, you know to stop, right? Well, that's a metaphor for our moods. If we're in a really low mood, if we're, you know, anything, fear, lack, doubt, depression, anxiety, all that stuff, when we're in a low mood, it's literally like we're in the basement. There's no windows. We can't see our way out of a paper bag. We're not making any sense. And where we get into trouble as human beings is when we're in a low mood, we want to blame something outside of us for the low mood. So a lot of us make the mistake, and it's very innocent, because if we're not having this conversation, we're going to roll with what the world teaches us. So we make the mistake of, in that low mood where our bandwidth is literally restricted, we can't make sense. We're not making any sense, okay? When our bandwidth is restricted, we think we have to do something about it. So that's when, you know, we blame somebody. That's when the socks on the floor are a big problem, right? When we're in the green, when we're hanging out in the penthouse and we, have a view of, we're in New York and we have a view of the Hudson River, and we have a view, we see that we're on an island and we can see New Jersey and everything's giant and huge, socks on the floor isn't a big deal. But when we're in the red, it's just one more thing to take us down. Okay. Now, obviously there's the yellow where, we could kind of go both ways. So, you want to notice, where am I right now? I could be focusing more on the things that are going well, or I could be looking at things that could go wrong. So you just want to be mindful of that. But the most important thing is to recognize that when you're in the red, and remember, the red can be any sort of low mood, you are not making sense. You're literally not capable of making a very educated decision because you're not seeing things clearly. So think about it. Literally, if you're in a bad mood and you come home and the house is a mess, that could be grounds for divorce or whatever situation that you're in, right? If you're in a great mood and the house is a mess, you're like, oh, cool, let's clean this up and then we're going to go out and celebrate. It's the same situation, but we look at it very differently based on our mood. So the biggest thing to remember is that when you are in a low mood, not to do anything with it because we're just not clear and the answers aren't there. So I just wanted to give you a little reminder from last week, and then I want to ask Lee to talk about the different avenues of communication, because this is truly life-changing stuff, especially because in every situation we're communicating, right? Because we've got family and, we've got exes and we've got kids and all these things. And then in business, we've got clients and people that we're working with and people on our team. So I wanted to open that up to you, Lee.
I'd like to just invite you, and it's going to sound strange, but invite you not to put all of this into labels. And what I mean by that is, like the Serenity Prayer. Most of you know the Serenity Prayer. So it's, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. It gets to be a cliche after a while. You hear it so often, it's like, yeah. Well, you could spend your whole life just on that little phrase there. Because we tend to label things because we've heard it before. So I just wanted to put that in advance so that you can come from the heart when you listen to this, because that's where the magic happens. That's when the aha moments happen. Take a deep breath in through the nose. That's it. And it doesn't matter what you're doing, whether you're in the tub, whether you're driving, everything else. It doesn't matter. Just breathe in and out through the nose. It's fine. In fact, the beauty of meditation is that you can be in meditation throughout your life. It does not matter. And as you breathe in through the nose, breathe into your heart. I know you can't physically do that, But you imagine that. You bring that attention into the heart. Where your attention goes, energy flows. Just feel that heart breath. And as you breathe into the heart, let that breath go and let that breath go into every cell in your body. So you start to resonate at a different frequency. You start to resonate at a higher energy. You don't have to change your mood to change your energy. You don't have to change anything, in fact. You just have to get out of your own way. That's it. So just stay in that mode as we're going through this, because, as I say, we can fall into that intellectual, this is this. And without realizing it, we are constantly judging. So let's just allow ourselves to let go of that judgment, because that's when fresh thinking comes through. It's great to have this idea of you've got two people thinking, but then we're thinking about our thinking. And then we're thinking about our thinking about our thinking. And then we've got a whole lot of thinking going on up here, right? Now, what's amazing is when you're speaking to another person, and I put it in quotes, because they're thinking about thinking, about their thinking, about their thinking, about their thinking. And when we're actually in conversation with a person, most of the time, if not almost all of the time, it's actually our thinking talking to their thinking. So nobody even exists in this conversation. It doesn't make any sense logically, I know. But when you realize how much in our heads that we get, we almost never speak to a person, almost never. So when we go back to our hearts, when we go take that attention down, now imagine your heart speaking to their heart. And we're not talking about words. So you can converse, but you're conversing heart to heart. It sounds strange, but it actually is true. You can converse heart to heart. And what you'll find is energetically, you'll have the most amazing conversation you've ever had in your life. Well, imagine that in all of your relationships. Imagine that in being at the grocery store and the cashier, you're connecting heart to heart. Wherever you are with your loved ones, you're connecting heart to heart. You're not in this busyness in the head. Don't talk to me right now. I'm too busy. You're connecting constantly. You will have a better conversation. You will have a better life. You will actually start to bring in happiness and success and freedom from just doing that, regardless of what else we're talking about. Try it out. It takes practice, and that's why most people don't do it. It feels awkward at first, but after a while, it will be second nature to you. There was a story about a Zen master, and he was very well respected in this little tiny village. There was two businessmen on this village, and so one of the guys came up to the Zen master and said, "Master, they're fighting. It's going crazy. We think they might end up like beating each other up. It's terrible." Zen master went down and he spoke to the two people. And he said to the first businessman, "What's the problem?" And he told the Zen master his problem. And he said, "This is what I think." The Zen master said, "You're right." And the other businessman said, "Wait a minute. You haven't heard my side of the story yet." He said, "Well, what is your side of the story?" The businessman told him, and he said, "You're right." And the guy that got the Zen master said, "Excuse me, but Zen master, you said to the first businessman that he was right, and then you said to the second businessman he was right. They can't both be right." And the Zen master said, You're right. I love the blank faces when I tell that one. It's so cool. Because we very rarely are living in the reality, if you like. We are living in our perception of reality. What is reality? Just the facts, just the facts. But we very rarely see just the facts. We don't see a rose. Some people say the rose is beautiful. Others see, I'm afraid of the thorns and it might give me allergies. A rose is just a rose. The facts are just the facts. If we were to take away the judgment, then we would see that everybody's right because they are living in their own universe, their own world. The beauty of this is we can step back and not get so attached and taking things so personally. Because no matter how horrible that person seems, it's never really personal. Even if it is somewhat personal, it's because they're in their model of the world. They're in this universal world that they have created, just like you have created. There's three ways that we deal with conflict. The first one is aggressive. And then there's passive. And then there's assertive. And we've all heard of those. But there's often a misconception with aggressive. What we don't realize is that we think of aggressive as the bully or the person that wants to take control or is super controlling of everybody and wants to dominate. And that's true to a point. But it often people who have been maybe hurt in a past relationship or something like that, and they're trying to protect themselves. Aggressive is a state of painting over. So as Andy said, we've got the diamond, and then we've got that crap, the limiting beliefs over it. Nobody wants to see that. So you're painting over that stuff. It's the paint that is the aggression. They're judging the situation. And what they do is they want to attack first before you get to attack them. It's difficult to be around people that are aggressive because they'll jump on your every word. They are in a state of judgment. They're in a state of the brown, and they're trying to paint over because they don't want people to see that insecurity inside. Now then there's passive. And with passive, we tend to think that this is probably a good thing as good people. But in actual fact, I forgot to say the aggressive, the equation is I win, you lose. So that's the equation of the aggression. They want to dominate, but it's more of a self-preservation thing. Now with the passive, it's the other way around. It's I lose, you win. And this is why it comes across as the nice guy or girl, or it's very victim mentality. Also, the aggressive is victim mentality because they don't want to be dominated, so they dominate first. But with the passive, what happens is they're still judgmental. They're still mainly of themselves, tending to judge themselves about everything that they're doing and trying to pacify people by doing what they want them to do. There's always an element of I'm being taken advantage of and the world is against me type thing. That builds up. And then when they try to be assertive, what happens is they jump the gun a little bit and it becomes passive aggressive. But then as they're getting more and more annoyed, they become aggressive and then end up being the bad boy or the bad girl because they've overdone it. And they get super aggressive for the simplest of things. And then it looks like they're the bad person. And what happens? Then they're full of guilt. And they're apologizing. but internally they're still holding on to this and feeling like they are the victim, feeling like the world is against me. I'm just trying to do the right thing. Both of these, as I say, are judgmental. They also tend to be in the red. And they're in the mind as opposed to in the heart. So it's all about the thinking what I got to do. In terms of aggressive, it's thinking, are they taking advantage of me? I need to stop this now. In the passive, I don't want anybody to be upset with me, so can I do more for you? And why don't they appreciate everything that I do? It's all in the head. Now, then there's assertive, and I like to call it lovingly assertive, because assertive is very misunderstood. The aggressive tend to think that assertive, if you're assertive, you're just being a little bit passive. You're just letting people get away with it. And the passive think, oh no, aggressive, I tried that. I got into trouble because I was the bad guy in the end. But assertive is neither. First of all, assertive is not in the head, it's in the heart. So when you're assertive, lovingly assertive, you're coming from the heart. So in Chinese martial arts, what they teach you is when a force comes toward you, what you do is rather than meet force with force, you allow the force to come toward you and you turn in the same direction. So you're turning your enemy and looking in the same direction as the enemy. So whereas aggressive was I win, you lose, and passive was I lose, you win, with assertive it's I win, you win. And when you're coming from the heart, you do not need to think about how a person is treating you or how you're treating another. You do not need to think about what do I need to say. You do not need to think about any of these things because you're coming from the heart. And when you come from the heart, you are naturally assertive. You will find that you're going to look after others naturally, but you also look after yourself when you're coming from the heart. When you don't do that, you're coming from that. Taking this further, think about when you have boundaries in life. Where do you think boundaries are coming from? And as I said at the start, this can get a little tricky because we fall into a way of thinking. You see, boundaries create a boundary. And we think, notice the words, we think that we need this boundary, but it's creating a separation. Because if you have to think, imagine if you had to think about everything you need to do, be, say, all the time. It's just not possible. You can't think of your boundaries like that. But when you're assertive, you do not need boundaries and you do not need a separation from any other person, including yourself. You don't need any restriction in any way. The beauty of coming from the heart, knowing and feeling and gaining this assertiveness. What's assertiveness? It's passion. What's assertiveness? It's unconditional love. It's abundance. All of these things come with assertiveness. It's in the green. So when we talk about the traffic lights, when you're in aggression, you're in the red. Also, when you're passive, you're in the red. Because even though you're not aggressive, so to speak, you're still in the head and your head's going crazy with overwhelm. Think about anxiety. It's in the head. When you drop down into the heart, anxiety cannot exist anymore. So it completely and utterly transforms your life. And the hard part about this is how simplistic it actually is. And that is you're just coming from the heart. That's it. And people say, but what about this situation? I say, I don't know because I'm not in that situation. But what I do know is if you're coming from the heart, you will do, be, and have, and you will say the right things in that moment. You will connect in that moment. So there's a phrase that I've used, I think I've said it before, and that is potential minus interference equals performance. So this came from a book called The Inner Game of Tennis. And he was basically talking to tennis players about getting out of their own way so that they can just play the game. But think about that equation. Potential. What is our potential? Absolutely infinite. Minus interference. What is the interference? The interference is the ship. That's what it is. That's the interference you have. You are all diamonds. We are all diamonds. Coming from our heart, we have full potential to have what we are passionate about. So the only interference is the limiting beliefs and crazy stuff that we make up in our heads. And it's an illusion, and that's the beauty of it. We don't have to have this stuff. We don't have to focus on this stuff, but we are unfortunately conditioned over the time to look for what's wrong in life, to look for the materialistic, to look for what's going on, rather than going back to the heart and seeing things from a realistic point of view. So I often do on a little whiteboard, a fork. So you imagine a line with a fork. And on the one side, on the top part, you've got illusion. What's the illusion? It's all of those limiting beliefs. It's all of that stuff that we make up in our heads. They looked at me a certain way. That means this. That's an illusion. What is the reality? The reality is a rose is a rose. The situation is what it is. When we start looking at people, places, and things in this way, life becomes so much easier. We don't worry about, is the next person coming for our home, to buy our home? Because we just know the reality is staying in this position, doing what I can do, the serenity prayer, I'm doing the best I can do, and I'm in the right frame of mind. It's almost obvious that the right things are going to come along as a consequence when you use everything to your advantage. Think about the word ego and the word, brain. What is the brain? Well, we think that the brain thinks. The brain doesn't think. When we understand, who am I? Who am I? I am the diamond. I am eternal. I am, we have a body. We are not the body. We have a body. This is our tool. Just like our brain is part of the body, and that's our tool. And the ego is also a tool. The ego is our personality. Where's the personality? It's what we've created growing up from the year zero. But it's not us. Who are we? We are passion. We are abundance. We are unconditional love. We are all of these things that are beyond the five senses. So think about passion. We think of them as feelings, but they're not feelings. They're beyond feelings. When you're feeling passion, you are at the level of abundance. When you're feeling passion, you're at the level of unconditional love. It's all pretty much the same. You've got in that resonance. So when you're coming from the heart, how do you do it? That's always the big question, because it doesn't seem so obvious. But it really is. And that is, stop linking to all the crazy thoughts that goes on. Remember, thoughts have no power whatsoever, except the power that we give them. So if you're thinking I can't connect. People don't like me, or I can't get any business. You're giving those thoughts the power. If you didn't give them any power, they would just pass you by. Literally. Now this takes practice, because it's easy for me to say. I'm not saying this is like, you just hear this. This is why I said at the start, please just let this wash over you. Let this settle, because it's a really, really huge conversation in a very simplistic way than what we're talking about here. It is freedom. It is success. It is happiness. It's everything, absolutely everything we've ever wanted in our entire lives. And what's bittersweet in a sense? It's annoying, but it's so relieving to know that it was already within us. It's already there. It's not something you have to find. You just allow yourself to let go of the thoughts that don't serve you, and just, it's almost like taking a step back from yourself and just see it. You're seeing yourself. You can do it. Imagine taking a step back from yourself and you're seeing yourself in all your glory, right? You're seeing, what are you seeing? You're really seeing your life play out according to your ego when you step back. But now you can see it, so you can take control. It does take practice, and I keep reiterating that because I don't want you to think I'm saying, oh, it's so easy. You just do this and life's a dream. It should be in a sense. However, we've had a lot of conditioning, so our habits are pretty strong. We've got neural pathways that are built that take us in that direction. So it takes a little practice to get those neural pathways going in the right direction. But the beauty of it is you already have everything that you need. You have all the ability that you need. Now, you might need to learn skills, but you have the ability to learn those skills. There is nothing stopping you. If you have the passion, you have what it takes. And it will not take that long. The only reason it takes long at the moment is because we keep going back to our old ways of thinking. And as soon as we can realize, hear those words, not intellectually understand, but realize, that's embody that feeling. Imagine if you truly knew, that you could have anything you wanted, that you could create the business that you wanted, or you could create, the health that you wanted, or whatever it is. If you absolutely knew that it was certain, how soon would you get that? How long would it really take? Not very long at all. Potential, you've got all of it. Minus interference equals performance. You take away that interference, your performance matches your potential. That's in relationships. You're assertive. You open up relationships beyond belief. When you open up relationships, your business thrives without a shadow of a doubt. Everything in your life improves as a consequence of letting go of that interference. It is an illusion. There was another, I like these monks' tales. There's a monk tale where every 100 years, I'm sure it's true, honestly, every 100 years, they go through, I forgot what it's called, the Tunnel of 1,000 Demons, I think it's called. And what they have to do, now, if they so choose, if they go through this tunnel and they get to the other side, they're enlightened, whatever that means, right? But they must go through this tunnel. If they don't, no chance. They're never going to be enlightened. What they do is they pray on your worst nightmares, on your deepest fears. So if you can imagine, you're going through this tunnel and the worst things possible are going on. It's all an illusion. But what they were told was, all you need to do is put one foot in front of the other. No matter what happens, just keep putting one foot in front of the other. Well, that's what we want to do. Just put one foot in front of the other. Just know, not, I think it's going to happen. Know that you have everything you need and that you just put one foot in front of the other and it will happen. If you know that you're lovingly assertive, you're going to be lovingly assertive. You don't need to think about, how can I become lovingly assertive? You can just breathe, just calm down. You will go into that beautiful resonance and you'll find yourself being lovingly assertive. You can be super successful. How? Let go of that interference. Everybody on the planet will want to work with you. What was that old movie? I'll have what she's having. You know, everybody will want that. Everybody will want that feeling. In every area of life, people will resonate with you at such a deeper level. You'll absolutely be amazed at the change. And what does it take? Just stepping back, just being aware, letting go of judgments, letting go of labels. The judgments are from the ego.